Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining in today's reading. Today we'll be reading Hari-bhakti-vilāsa, one of the books by Srila Sanatana Goswami, a prominent Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya of the Six Goswamis of Vrindavan, who are the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This book has been provided in the ebook form, in the PDF form by ISKCON Desire Tree, fulfilling the desires of ISKCON Founder-Ācārya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we thank all the devotees who are managing this website and providing us all the resources so that we are able to read it online. Before starting the reading, so we are going to offer the prayers to the spiritual masters and the deities and take their blessings. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathamvitam Tam Sajivam Tadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namavom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today's reading is Hari-bhakti-vilāsa. These are some of the selected verses from the entire book. This is not the full version of it. So this is some of the selected verses of Hari-bhakti-vilāsa by Srila Sanatana Goswami. Introduction. The glories of the 18-letter mantra. It is stated in Tapani scripture that once all of the sages headed by Sanaka Rishi asked these questions of Lord Brahma. Please tell us who is the Lord of all lords. Please tell us who death is afraid of. Please tell us by knowing whom everything is known. Who is covering the whole world? Lord Brahma replied, Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Death personified is afraid of Sri Govinda. One who knows Gopijana Vallabha knows everything, and Swaha is used to create the universe. The sages then ask, who is Lord Krishna? Who is Govinda? Who is Gopijana Vallabha? What is the word Swaha? Lord Brahma said, Lord Krishna is the cause of removing sin. One who knows heaven, earth, and Vedic literatures together is known as Govinda. The giver of knowledge is said to be Vallabha. All creation is guided by the Supreme Lord. Anyone who meditates, enjoys the nectarian holy name, and remains disposed in this way attains liberation. The sages ask, what is his form? What is the nectarian enjoyment of his mellow? What is the chanting? Please satisfy us who are inquisitive. Lord Brahma said, one should take shelter of the residents of Vrindavana. The personality of Godhead has a complexion which is dark like the rain cloud, who is always youthful, and who is magnanimous like the Kalpavruksha tree. Repetition in the holy name of the Lord is called chanting. Giving up personal sense gratification and engaging in transcendental activities is called devotional service. Gopijana Vallabha maintains the whole universe, and Swaha is used as power to create this universe. Lord Krishna is the supreme eternal among eternals. Lord Krishna is life among all lives. Although he is alone, he maintains everyone. He is the supreme. Anyone who worships him achieves the immutable perfection of life. Anyone who does not glorify and chant the holy name of Krishna cannot attain eternal happiness. Lord Brahma further spoke, I meditated on the Supreme Lord continuously, and at last, Lord Krishna, in the form of a cowherd boy, appeared in front of me. Thereafter, when I paid my obeisances, he gave me an 18-letter mantra with the pranava in front and ordered me to create. He then disappeared. When I desired to create, I used this 18-letter mantra in this way. From Ka, water appeared. From La, earth appeared. From E, fire appeared. From Anuswar, the moon appeared. And from sound of this, the sun god appeared. Or from the Kleem seed, everything above was created. From the word Krishna, the sky was created. From the word Ya, air was created. From the word Govinda, cows were created. From the word Gopijana, all knowledge was created. And from Vallabha, all human beings, woman and man, were created by me. Anukulasya sankalpa, pratikulya varjanam, takshayiti viswaso, goptritve varanam tadha, atmanikshepa karpanye, shadvidha sharanagati. Hari-bhakti-vilāsa 11.676 Vaishnava Tantra. The 6 divisions of surrender are 1. To accept those things favorable to perform devotional service. Number 2. To reject those things which are unfavorable for the discharge of devotional service. Number 3. To have the conviction that Krishna will always protect his devotee. Number 4. To always accept Lord Krishna as one's guardian or master. Number 5. Full self-surrender. And number 6. To always feel oneself meek and humble. Quoted from the Vishnu Purana about how the Grihastha should work in this world. 1. One should never tell lies, even if they sound sweet. 2. One should not explain anybody else's faults to others. 3. One should not take shelter of others. 4. One should not make enemies of others. One should not speak with an unchaste woman or her husband. 5. One should not speak with a liar. 6. One should not speak with a wicked person who habitually criticizes others. 7. One should be in full knowledge of the ultimate destination. 8. One should not take bath in fast-moving currents of water. 9. One should not enter into a burning house. 10. One should not climb on a tree. 11. One should not stretch his body or scratch his head simultaneously with 2 hands. 12. One should not cough while listening to philosophy. 13. One should not laugh very loudly. 14. One should be careful to avoid passing air from the anus. 15. One should not clean his nails with another nail. Sanatana Goswami comments in this regard that one should not remove dirt from one nail with the use of another nail. 16. One should not chew his nails. 7. One should not write on the earth with his toenails. 18. One should not look at the sun or moon in an impure condition. 19. One should not jump over the shadow of a worshipable person, a demigod, Brahmana, or a Vaishnava. 20. One should never go alone into a thick jungle. 21. One should not enter into an unknown suspected house. Sanatana Goswami explains that one should not touch a dead body or the smoke coming out from the burning of a dead body at a crematorium. 22. One should stay away from cut hairs, bones, stool, and saliva. 23. One should not face a snake. 24. One should not get up in the morning and continue sitting for a long time without bathing. 25. One should not unrestrictedly eat more than he needs. 26. One should not sleep too little. 27. One should not sleep too much. 28. One should not sit on too high of a seat. 28. One should not sleep on a bed which is too soft. 29. One should not take ice. 30. One should not allow westbound winds to blow upon him. 31. One should not bathe in the morning sun. 32. One should not take achamana with the left hand. 33. One should not be nude while bathing. 34. One should not sleep nude. 35. One should not wear a gamsha without underwear, kaupin. 36. One should not shake his wet hairs after taking bath. One should not kick anybody with his foot. 37. One should not shake his feet or leg while sitting. 38. One should not go around a respectable person. 39. One should not urinate or evacuate while standing or on the path. 40. One should not take out mucus from his mouth while he worships or during an auspicious function such as chanting japa, performing a fire sacrifice, or while near a great saintly person. 41. One should not openly insult a woman, nor should he touch them. 42. One should not become jealous of women. 43. One should not give them any authority. 44. At the time of thundering in the sky, or on the 8th day of the waxing or waning moon in an unclean condition, or during an eclipse, a learned person does not study scriptures. 45. One should not speak sweet words in such a way that it would not benefit him. 46. One should not punish others except his own son or his disciple. 47. One should not wear torn or spotted clothes. 48. One should not touch a person who has taken bath. 49. One should take a cloth bath. One should not take a cloth bath after copulating with a woman or returning from a crematorium. 50. The mouth of a goat and woman are pure. The mouth of a cow and a calf are impure. But when the calf is sucking the nipples of a milking cow, at that time his mouth is pure. 51. If one touches a woman who is undergoing menstruation, or one who has just given birth to a child, or has touched a dead body, he should take bath with clothes. 52. In Bhavishya Purana, it is said that if a Brahmana does not chant his Gayatri mantras, the king should put him in the Sudra section of town. 53. One should not hit someone on his head. 54. At night, one should not eat yogurt or anything bitter, and in the daytime, he should not eat barley or corn. Sanatana Goswami gives his commentary saying that it is prohibited to eat lower grains such as barley or corn in the daytime. One should understand that during the daytime, poverty resides in the lower grains, and at night in yogurt and bitter ingredients. One who is knowledgeable follows this properly. 55. Accumulating offenses against the spiritual master are more serious than committing offenses against the demigods. 56. If a cow is grazing in another's field, one should not complain about it to the landlord. 57. If someone is giving charity to the spiritual master, a Brahmana or to a demigod, one should not forbid him to do so. 58. One should keep the secrets of others confidentially. In other words, one should not speak bad about his superiors. 59. Oh, best of the Brahmanas, one should not address a sinner as a sinner, and he not call him sinless as well. 60. One should not look at the sun while it is rising or setting. 61. One should not look at a nude man or woman, stool, urine, and leftover food. 62. One should not touch a crazy man. 63. One should not touch his own wife when she is eating. 64. One should not look at a woman or one's own wife when she is urinating or evacuating. One should not look at his own reflection in the water. 66. One should give up pleading for the mercy of others. 67. One should not glorify his disciple or himself to others. 68. One should not address the Ganges or the Yamuna as rivers and Govardhana as a mountain. 69. One should not touch hairs of the dirty parts of the body. 70. One should not beat the water with his hands or feet. 71. One should not argue with a woman. 73. One should not wake a sleeping person. 74. One should not take a sunbath in the morning sun. 75. One should not touch the smoke from the crematorium. 76. One should not carry shoes in his hands. 77. One should not wash one foot with the other foot. 78. One should not show the sole of his feet to the fire. 79. One should not deceive a Brahmana or a Vaishnava. 80. One should not touch any deity with a left hand or a foot. 81. One should not go down into a well. 82. One should not break his promise. 83. One should not trust any animals, snakes, and women. 84. One should not pass between two Brahmanas or two devotees. 85. One should not mix buttermilk and milk together to drink it. 86. One should not drink milk from a cow which has just given birth. One should wait at least 10 days to drink the milk. 88. One should use only two kinds of salt, ocean salt and rock salt. 89. One should not sleep overnight under a banyan tree or in a cow's band. 90. After shaving one's head, he should take bath. These instructions are for one's benefit for improvement in spiritual advancement. If somebody does not follow these instructions, they will be implicated with poverty and disease and will consequently be obstructed on the devotional path. There are 6 Goswamis, Sri Rupa, Sri Sanatana, etc., who are the associates of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whether they are present or they are not present, there is no difference because their teachings will always purify people. They are always addressed as Srila, which grammatically used as La, Sri, which signifies Lakshmi Devi, wealth, a renouncer form, auspiciousness, goddess of learning, dignity, greatness, prosperity, the 3 objects of worldly existence, religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, intelligence, fame, development, and ultimate perfection. Because personalities who are spiritually purified are said to be associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore Srila is used for such personalities for their uncommon transcendental knowledge, detachment, and austerity. Sripad Madhvacharya wrote the commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Following the statements on the Srimad Bhagavatam to understand Lord Sri Krishna with ultimate truth and to spread the influence of devotion to the Vrajadham, Lord Sri Chaitanya instructed Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana. Therefore, to pacify Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana and to complete their vow of activities, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who was born in the dynasty of Viprabhatta in South India, who was also blessed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, an associate of him, had written this wonderful literature. As in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Sri Krishna spoke to Uddhava, Madbhakta Puja Bhaktadikas. Worshipping my devotee is better than my own worship. Therefore, Gopala Bhatta Goswami was engaged to please Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatana, because to explain the glories of devotional service between the devotee and the Supreme Person of Godhead is the pleasure of a Vaishnava. The ultimate goal of writing scriptures is to bring a human being beyond the bodily conception of life and to teach Vaishnava etiquette so that one can become purified and go back to Godhead. Although the Vedic literatures are all discussions between different groups of people, still, the ultimate goal is not changed. In all Vedic literature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the enjoyer of everything, is being described, either in personal form or in impersonal form. In the impersonal form, the Absolute Truth is described as the impersonal Brahman. In personal form, the Supreme is described as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in certain places, he is described as Paramatma. As in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord is described in three categories of realizations: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. As Srila Jiva Goswami states in his Krishna Sandarbha, the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan features of the Lord are all the same one Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of enjoyment beyond this material world. Whether he is realized as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan depends on the realization of a devotee. Although all three of them are spiritual realizations, Bhagavan realization is the topmost. This Bhagavan realization is directly the realization of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. While discussing these three categories of realizations of the Supreme Lord, the living entity who is situated as marginal potency comes in account. Although the living entity is part and parcel of God, who is always active, due to being captured by the material nature, he becomes egoistic. Although the living entity is not dead material, but a pure living force, still he is suffering in the material world. The reason the living entity is suffering in the material world is due to Maya, the external illusory energy of the Supreme Lord. Maya forces the living entity to remain under the modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance. Under these modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, he falls into the material conception of life, and thus forgets his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. He then becomes attracted to matter, such as his body and its expansions, and remains eternally in this material world. As long as the mind is engaged in dead matter, the living entity tries to enjoy the material world. But this dead matter is actually the cause the living entity is suffering. The external potency of the Lord is not cruel, because it is the energy of the Lord. Although it tortures the living entity, it is not without good reason. Since the living entity has forgotten the supremacy of the Lord and his relationship with him, the Lord's external energy, Maya, covers him and tortures him in various ways. This suffering undergone by the living entity will teach him to rectify his fault of forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. Here, a doubt should be presented. Since the living entity is presently in forgetfulness of the Lord, he must have previously been consciousness of the Lord. If the living entity was not conscious of God, how has he come to the forgetful stage? By practicing the spiritual process, one can again become conscious of the Lord. But again, he can forget the Lord. It would seem, therefore, that it is an unsteady platform for the living entity, and that there is not real benefit in following spiritual instructions. To clarify this doubt, the living entities have been divided into two categories according to their natures. One category is the eternally conditioned, which by the will of the Lord remain always in forgetfulness. The second category is called the eternally liberated souls, because they never forget their position and go against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Both kinds of living entities are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.7.37 in a conversation between Vidura Maharaja and Maitreya Muni. Vidura asked Maitreya Muni how the whole material creation will be annihilated. And after inhalation, who remains in service attitude to him? And after his, who takes rest? In other words, when the inhalation takes place, he takes rest in the causal ocean. And at that time, who serves him? And who sleeps when he goes to sleep? It means who is eternally engaged in the service of the Lord and who merges in him at the time of inhalation. In this regard, there is a statement in Kasi Khanda, which Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, incorporating with Sri Swami, quote this verse, which Srila Prabhupada translates in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.7.37. Nachavante hi yad bhakta mahatyam pralayapadi ato achyuto akhile loke sayeka sarvago vyayaha. The devotees of the Lord never annihilate their individual existence even after the resolution of the entire cosmic manifestation. The Lord and the devotees who associate with him are always eternal, in both the eternal and spiritual worlds. Tattvanam bhagavams tesham katitha pratisankramaha tatremam ka upashiran kausvid anuserate. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.7.37. Please describe how many dissolutions there are for the elements of the material nature, and who survives after the dissolutions to serve the Lord while he is asleep. With this question, we can understand that there are two categories of living entities. Paratattva Jnana, Samsarga Abhavamaha. The forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord is said to be Paratattva Jnana. Samsarga Bhayava, which means to forget the absolute truth, is mainly due to the lack of proper association. This lack or absence is divided into two. One, lack of mutual reciprocation, and two, lack of association. Lack of association is further divided into three. A, previously unconscious. B, non-existence caused by destruction. C, absolutely non-existence. In other words, whatever absence was existence was experienced before the existence of some substance of an object, it was called pragbhava, or previously lacking consciousness. Any experience which was gotten after the substance was created and destroyed. One should not make the goal of his work to attain the object of perfection. If it is said, you have sufficient wealth in your house, as a poverty-stricken man, after hearing this, makes a greater endeavor to attain it, and at last becomes successful. It should be understood in a similar way on the spiritual platform. The conclusion is that one should know the subject matter properly and act upon it to attain it. If the living entity was not eternal, he would not become attached to performing devotional service and experience of the realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, a person may have a golden necklace around his neck, but due to certain circumstances, he forgets about it. If, however, somebody reminds him that he is wearing the necklace, then the person realizes it also. This example is appropriate here. Srila Jiva Goswami gives his tika to verse 7 in Bhakti Sandarbha, saying that Yogendra told King Nimi, O king, as long as firm faith in the Supreme Lord does not arise in the heart of the living entity, until that time, one should offer his body, mind, and words by acting according to the Vedic instructions. One may say that the living entity has been suffering in this world of duality due to his lack of enthusiasm to realize his own identity. Therefore, he is suffering with fear, distress, etc. in different ways. Just as due to ignorance, a person thinks a rope to be a snake, but when he realizes that it is a rope, the illusion that it is a snake does not remain anymore. Similarly, when the living entity becomes ignorant as to his own identity, he identifies with his body and thinks that he is not a spirit soul but a material body. Therefore, for him, the body becomes the soul. Thus, fear covers him. Therefore, the question can be asked, what is the function of the illusory energy for which the living entity has to perform devotion to God? How does the living entity come to the platform of ignorance? Is it by himself or by the influence of the illusory energy? The answer to this, it can be said, is that it is done by himself because it is the nature of the living entity to become forgetful. And by being reminded, he comes to knowledge. Forgetfulness is the nature of the living entity. If somebody says that this forgetfulness is caused by the material nature, this is practically impossible because Maya is dead matter and the living entity is active and full of knowledge. Knowledge can overcome the ignorance, but ignorance cannot overcome knowledge. Therefore, it is impossible for Maya to cover the identity of the living entity. Specifically, Maya is the energy of the Lord, who is also known as the external energy. The energy is always under the shelter of the energetic, but is never independent. And it always stays under the shelter of the supreme law. Even though Maya is the energy of God, it is not able to cover the constitutional position of the living entity, but it acts under the direction of the supreme law. Maya, the external energy of the Lord, is not cruel. Therefore, Maya does not cover the living entity's identification for no reason. Maya shows her influence upon one who is against the supremacy of the Lord. Therefore, as long as the living entity does not give up his rebelliousness against God, he does not become free from the covering of the illusory energy. The Supreme Lord is the only one who can free the living entity from fear and the covering of his own identification. Therefore, an intelligent person should surrender to the Lord through devotional service, by which he can attain the mercy of the Lord. And thus Maya can also be liberated. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante Mayametam Tarantite. Bhagavad Gita 7:14. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. The external energy of the Lord causes the living entity to accept false things as true and true things as false, happiness as distress and distress as happiness. Just like a magician, when he performs magic, he does not fall into illusion, but he puts everyone else into illusion and makes them laugh and cry. Unless one takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, it is difficult to get the wealth of knowledge and detachment to break open the covering of Maya. When the living entity vows to not engage in any activity except pure devotional service to the Lord and feels satisfied in this service to Him, he is called an unalloyed devotee. This can only be achieved by taking complete shelter at the lotus feet of the genuine spiritual master. If somebody has pleased his spiritual master properly, he is qualified to have pure bhakti at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The goal of human life is to make a vow in such a way that it pleases the Supreme Lord Sri Vishnu. This can only happen when someone develops some transcendental taste for his transcendental narration. When somebody develops that taste to hear about the devotional service to the Supreme Lord, then he develops transcendental qualities, which is the symptom of doing devotional service. In verse 5, 18, 12 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the devotee develops the qualities of demigods, by which all of the associates of the Supreme Lord, such as the demigods and Garuda, become very friendly with this devotee. When someone's mind becomes purified, he can engage in devotional service to the Lord without deviation. In Srimad Bhagavatam 127, it is stated that if somebody engages in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, then knowledge and detachment automatically come to him. Therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-8, it is stated that if any service does not bring about attachment to hearing about Vasudeva, the Supreme Lord, it is just hard, useless labor. As in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-8, it is called Sramayeva, which means desirous service to the Lord. This takes one to the heavenly planet which perishes in due course. Because when a Sakama devotee does any function for the Lord which takes him to heaven, in due course he has to fall down into this material world. This is just as vegetation is caused by rain. It is grown, maintained, and destroyed in due course. Similarly, all Shastric objects such as yajna, etc., take one to heaven. That is the meaning of he. The word kevala also shows that the path of renunciation is also useless if it is bereft of devotional service. Just by becoming desireless and performing some spiritual function is not beneficial alone. If somehow or other one is able to achieve knowledge, that is also not steady. The word he means that if someone has spiritual devotion to the Supreme Lord, he gets the topmost benefit, which is to develop the transcendental qualities within himself. Narada Muni says to Srila Vyasadeva in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.12 that knowledge without designation is also able to give self-realization. Srila Jiva Goswami says that some people accept that the results of religiosity is economic development, and economic development results in sense gratification. And once somebody's senses are satisfied, that is the end of following a vow of religiosity. This kind of understanding is illusory because the result of dharma is not artha, wealth, money. Because the test of real dharma is that it frees one from the repeated cycle of birth and death. If it does not do this, it is not real dharma. The real purpose of religiosity is not to increase economic development, sense gratification, etc., but to learn how rare it is to achieve a human birth and how all of the senses are used to satisfy the Supreme Lord. In other words, one must realize one's human goal of life. Otherwise, one's human existence in this world is useless. As it is stated in the Bhakti Sandarbha 15, quoted from the Skanda Purana, Reva Khanda, Nischala-tvayi bhaktirya saiva muktir yanardana mukta eva hi bhaktaste tava Vishnu yato hare. Bhakti Sandarbha 15, Skanda Purana. O Lord Janardana, whoever has unalloyed devotion to you is said to be a liberated person. O Vishnu, therefore any person who does real devotion to you is addressed as bhakti and is really liberated. Taking a vow to perform devotional service is to engage in unalloyed devotional service. Therefore, the result of dharma cannot be an increase in wealth or an increase in sense gratification. If it is so, one should not engage in spiritual activities. Therefore, the real meaning of religiosity is not sense gratification, nor the attainment of the heavenly atmosphere, but rather to attain the abode of the Supreme Lord, which is full of bliss and eternity. For example, in the previous birth, Prahlad Maharaj unconsciously performed a fast on Lord Nrsingadeva's appearance day, Nrsinga Chaturdasi fast. In his previous birth, Prahlad Maharaj was a young Brahman boy. His character was loosened due to association with a prostitute, and he becomes sinful. One day, he had a quarrel with that prostitute, and due to that, he had to fast. Due to destiny, that day happened to be the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadeva, and was the day for fasting for Nrsingadeva. He did not know how to observe that Nrsinga fast. Even though he performed it unconsciously, he achieved the result that a person would achieve by fasting on Nrsingadeva's day with devotion. And in his next life, he became a great devotee of Lord Nrsingadeva as Prahlad Maharaj. Another merit was attained by a hawk who was chased by a dog around the temple and got the result of performing a parikrama, circumambulation. When the hawk was attacked by a dog, this hawk, due to fear, started running. Since it ran around the temple, it got the result of circumambulating the temple of the Supreme Lord. By doing so, he achieved the supreme liberation, the supreme abode in Vaikuntha, Similarly, if a rascal pays obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, referring to somebody else, like in the case of Ajamil, they attain the result of performing obeisances and praying to the Supreme Lord from the Padma Purana. Whatever one sees in this world is governed by the Supreme Lord. He is everywhere. He is present in this universe in the form of holy places. Lord Shiva says to his wife Parvati about the holy places, in which first is Pushkara Kshetra, 2. Varanasi, which give liberation to everyone, and 3. Naimisharanya, the place where all of the holy Puranas were spoken. Number 4. Prayaga, where all the sages brought all of the scriptures which were retrieved from the ocean. And number 5, the transcendental holy place of the Lord is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. None of the holy places existing have ever been better, nor will they ever be better than the holy name of the Lord. In Kali Yuga, the holy place named Dwaraka, where Lord Krishna ruled before, if anybody goes to that place, he achieves liberation. If anybody goes to Jagannath Puri, he becomes free from all kinds of sins and achieves the abode of Lord Vishnu. Saunaka Rishi asked Sutta Goswami about achieving initiation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sutta Goswami related the conversation between King Dilipa, the great-grandfather of Lord Ramachandra, and Vasishtha, the family priest. Vasishtha then told King Dilipa about the conversation between Narada Muni and Lord Brahma, in which Lord Brahma told Narada about his conversation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who said that everyone, whether he was a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or woman, all are authorized to chant my glories with devotion. Whether he is full of desires, whether he is full of distress, inquisitive, looking for money, or he is searching for knowledge, everybody can take shelter at my Lord's feet by chanting my holy name, and I will fulfill their desires. The hymn or mantras should not be revealed to those who are not initiated, who are atheistic, non-devotees, who are very lusty and angry and arrogant, and who have no faith in me. Anybody who serves me with unalloyed devotion should be given mantras of me. One should consider the time, place, and circumstances and auspicious moments to give a mantra to the qualified person. This is in reference to the Gayatri mantras. One should not converse with non-Vaishnavas, and one should not worship demigods, but should surrender and chant only one mantra, that is of the personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere, who is the ocean of mercy. Sri Narayana himself, who controls all the demigods. Lord Brahma stated, O Supreme Lord, you are the Father, Mother, Spiritual Master, the one in charge, the friend, brother, the ultimate liberation, the shelter, and the best friend of all living entities. I am your servant and your son. O Ocean of Mercy, please narrate to me now the process of initiation to benefit all humanity. The Supreme Personality of Godhead narrated, O son, now listen, and I will tell you the process of initiation where one should take shelter of a perfect teacher and serve him properly. The teacher should be fully equipped with Vedic knowledge and should be a devotee of Lord Sri Vishnu without envy. He should know all the mantras properly and should be following a bona fide disciplic succession. He should be expert in knowing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and should be following sadhana bhakti properly. He must be twice born and have no worldly interest, being free from attachment, anger, and greed. He must have a divine character in the mood of goodness and must desire liberation himself and also desire to help others attain the same goal. One should approach such an Acharya with folded hands and be controlled by him. If one depends on such an Acharya, he will become well qualified. If one allows himself to be controlled by the spiritual master, he will naturally become a qualified disciple. If a teacher sees a qualified disciple who is searching for a perfect bona fide spiritual master, he will impart the secret mantras unto him. Whether it is the Dwadasi, the day after Ekadasi, or some other proper Vaishnava day with consultations for initiating the candidate, he should purify the candidate with Panchamrita, milk, ghee, yogurt, honey, and sugar water, mix it together, and give him a tulasi leaf to eat, and put sandalwood on his forehead properly, And according to the Vedic rules, one should perform a fire sacrifice, and the Acharya should start chanting mantras in this way. Oblation should be thrown into the fire, either 108 times or 1008 times, with auspicious Vaishnava mantras. Then one should chant the Purusha Sukta, prayers offered by the demigods to Lord Vishnu in the milk ocean, and pour ghee into the fire. Then he should teach the candidate how to put on tilaka properly, which goes from the tip of the nose to the forehead. Then the Acharya should explain the meaning of the mantra to the disciple and give him specific devotional activities. In this way, after properly receiving the mantra from an Acharya, he should worship him with proper ornaments, etc. O best of the demigods, in this way, if a Vaishnava Guru initiates a disciple, that disciple becomes a Vaishnava, the best of all. O Narada, let me tell you the truth again and again, that the Supreme Lord Narayana repeatedly explained this process of initiation to me personally for the benefit of all humanity. Once Lord Brahma asked the Supreme Person of Godhead about the Vaishnava qualities and symptoms. Lord Sri Vishnu replied to Lord Brahma, stating that he was unable to describe all of the qualities of a Vaishnava, even he would speak for 10 million kalpas, which is 10 million times 1000 yugas. He said, O Lord Brahma, I cannot even live for a moment without Vaishnavas. They are my best friends. Those who are free from lust, anger, arrogance, violence, greed, delusion are Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas are merciful, who are interested in the welfare of all living entities, who speak the truth only, who are interested to instruct others about the goal of life, who follow the Vedic instructions as a way of life, who are worshipping and serving their spiritual master, who see every living entity as equal to him, who welcome and respect guests, who are expert in Vedic knowledge, who have a nice service attitude toward the twice bonds, who control their senses, who are not attached to other men's wives, who always follow Ekadasi fast with devotion, who always sing my glories properly, who respect the demigods, who put tulasi garlands on themselves after offering it to the Lord, who are decorated with tilaka all over their body, who worship me always, who have a tilaka made out of the mud from the root of tulasi, who have tulasi wood paste on their face after offering it to the Lord, who like to take bath in the Ganges, who become pleased hearing the name of the Ganges, who know and speak the glories of the Ganges, who have Salagram Shila in his own residences, who study Srimad Bhagavatam, who cleanse my own place, who offer me a ghee lamp, who build me a new temple, who take me on procession, whoever drink and place on his head the water emanated from my lotus feet, and after offering me some foodstuffs, eats them, who distributes foodstuffs and drinks to the needy people, who are engaged in worshipping and serving cows, who help the helpless, who have no interest in criticizing others. These are all called Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas only have good qualities. They do not have any bad qualities. O Brahma, what else can I say? Those who worship me properly through devotional service, who see the wealth of others as useless, are certainly all Vaishnavas. While circumambulating Lord Shiva, one should not go across the dream of Lord Shiva. If one does so, the worship to Lord Shiva becomes fruitless. If one circumambulates Lord Srihari even once, his life becomes perfect. If one circumambulates Lord Srihari twice, he attains the position of Lord Indra, and at last becomes liberated from all sins and enters into the kingdom of Madhava. One who circles a conch filled with water around Lord Sri Keshava in the temple, he becomes glorified, even by the demigods. If somebody offers 7 obeisances to Lord Sri Keshava, all of his sins are destroyed into ashes. If somebody pays obeisances to Lord Srihari, falling straight on the ground, whatever merit he achieves, I, Vyasadeva, am unable to describe. After paying obeisances, whatever dust remains on the body of the devotee, for that long, he will remain in the abode of the Supreme Lord. Anybody who takes a garland which has been offered to the Supreme Lord and gives it to other devotees, he is called a real Vaishnava. Food offered to the Supreme Lord is very rarely achieved and is hankered for by the demigods. What to speak of human beings, because it removes all sins. Anybody who has smelled the fragrance of tulsi leaf immediately becomes freed from any difficulties he has in his body. Anybody who accepts the charanamrita of the Lord on his head or in his mouth with devotion, all of his offenses are destroyed, and he has taken bath in all of the places of pilgrimage. Such a person does not die untimely, and all of his diseases are removed if he takes the water offered at the Lord's lotus feet and touch it to his head. As one can become free from diseases by taking the correct medicine, in that very way, if one takes the water which has washed the two lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, all of his sins are destroyed. This water should be mixed with the tulsi leaves which have been offered to Lord Vishnu. One becomes free from the sin of killing of a Brahmana and attains the abode of Lord Vishnu by drinking Charanamrita. Whatever results one achieves by donating a mountain of gold, the same results are achieved by drinking Sri Charanamrita. If one donates 1 million horses in charity and donates the whole 7 islands, whatever merit he is achieved just by drinking Charanamrita. So such merit can be attained by drinking Charanamrita, which cannot be attained by doing other spiritual activities, because just touching Charanamrita, one can immediately liberate it. Anybody who takes Charanamrita does not take another birth, and anybody who eats food offered to the Lord, all of his sins are removed. And if he eats with devotion, he goes to the abode of the Supreme Lord. Because food offered to the Lord is very rarely achieved. O best of the Brahmanas, Suta Goswami says, all of the sins walk out from his body. If anybody worships the Supreme Lord, even without following rules and regulations, if he has devotion to the Supreme Lord, he becomes very pleased with the worshipper and achieves the same merit which is achieved by a person who worships him according to the scriptural rules and regulations. The Supreme Lord does not become pleased, even if a person worships him according to scriptural rules and regulations, but without devotion. The essence of knowledge is devotional service, and the root of devotional service is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, anybody who wants liberation must worship the Supreme Lord Hari. But this should be done with full faith. If one has a devotional attitude, he can even worship just by using only water and go to the abode of Lord Sri Vishnu, because Lord Sri Vishnu is depending on the devotee's devotion. The result of performing the Ekadasi fast is directly described by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one else besides him is able to describe such a great merit. In the beginning of creation, the Supreme Lord created a personified sin, Papa Purusha, to destroy the dirty mentality of the living entities. He was put in charge of the sins of killing of a twice born, sins of drinking wine, of stealing gold, the sin of enjoying the wife of the Guru, the sin of disobeying the Vedic instructions, killing of a woman, the killing of a cow, performing an abortion, or having an abortion, enjoying another's wife, killing of his own friend, killing one's dependent, becoming disobedient to the husband, criticizing his own qualified guru, selling his own daughter, after giving the faith to someone, not following it. For such class of sinners, the sin personified takes charge and sends them to a hellish planet. Since such people do not follow my orders, they suffer in hell such as Raurava hell, Naraka, by the order of Yamaraj. Once the Supreme Lord mounted upon Garuda and proceeded toward the abode of Yamaraj to remove the distress and suffering of living entities there. Seeing Lord Narayana arriving at his place, Yamaraja, the son of the sun god, properly worshipped him with incense, etc., with happiness. After being worshipped, Lord Sri Vishnu, who is the Lord of everyone, sat down on the seat made of gold. After being seated, the Supreme Lord, hearing the pitiable cries coming from the southern direction, spoke to Yamaraj, asking him where this cry was coming from. Yamaraja said, O Supreme Lord, those people who break religious principles on the earthly planet come here to suffer in hell. They are suffering here due to their own karma. One who eats the fruits of the tree of sin suffers greatly, which makes them cry loudly for their own sins. Hearing this from the Son of the Sun God, the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord immediately proceeded toward the crying sinful people. Seeing them suffering in a ferocious hell, such as Raurava, the Supreme Personality of Godhead thought to himself within his heart about their welfare. I have personally created all of these living entities. In the northern direction of India, where the Himalaya is situated, among 125,000 hills, there is a greatly meritorious hill called Badarika Ashram, where Nara and Narayana sat and performed tapasya. On this mountain, Lord Shiva describes that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with matted hairs, was performing tapasya to show the living entities how to perform the purificatory process. He is being worshipped for 6 months out of the year by human beings, and the other 6 months he cannot be worshipped by human beings because it is all covered with snow. The demigods who perform austerities there worship him. Anybody who goes to visit Badrinath becomes free from millions of sins. One who takes bath there in Alakananda there, in Ganges, there becomes free from great sinful activities. Once I, Lord Shiva, personally clothed went there to perform a particular austerity. The Supreme Personality of Godhead personally appeared near me, saying how pleased he was, and asked me to ask a boon. He said, "O Shiva, anything you desire, I shall give you." Lord Shiva replied, "If you are so happy with me, O Supreme Lord, please award me 2 kinds of boons, if you desire so. Let me have your pure devotional service, and let me become your topmost devotee. Everybody should understand that I am your devotee." The second boon that he asked was, "O Lord, by your mercy, let me have the power to give liberation to my devotees. Let me become famous as a Vishnu Bhakta. Anybody who performs austerity for me, let me give him the boon of liberation. O Supreme Lord, although my whole body is smeared with dirty ashes, still let me become positively famous in this world by your great mercy." One who listens to the glories of Tulasi Devi becomes purified by removing all of his sins and achieves liberation without a doubt. Anybody who plants a Tulasi in his own house, that house becomes free from sins. Just by seeing Tulasi, one undoubtedly becomes free from the killing of a Brahmana. One who worships Lord Sri Hari in the month of Kartik, October to November, with Tulasi leaves specifically, he becomes very happy. If one goes around Tulasi even once, he becomes free from all sins. If a person who is born in a Sudra family wants to become purified, he has to give charity for a long duration of time. But if one worships the Supreme Lord with Tulasi leaves, he becomes purified and free from sins. Therefore, Tulasi worship is a great meritorious function. Haridwar is a greatly meritorious place of pilgrimage where all great saintly persons, sages among the demigods, and sages among human beings, plus all of the Manus reside. This Tirtha has been existing since Satyayuga. This Ganges emanates from the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Vishnu, and Bhagiratha brought this Ganges through Haridwar to liberate all of his ancestors. Narada Muni then asked, "Please tell me who is that Bhagiratha who brought this Ganges to deliver all living entities? Because wherever this Ganges flows, that place becomes a meritorious place. If anybody chants 100 names of Ganges or 100 times Ganga, he becomes free from sins and attains the abode of Lord Vishnu. How did he bring the Ganges? Please tell me of his activities." Lord Sri Shiva replied, "Previously there was a greatly truthful king named Harishchandra who had a son named Rohita, who was a devotee of Lord Sri Vishnu. His son, who was also very religious, and he had a son named Swahu, who had a son named Gara, who was also very religious person. Due to certain circumstances, he became distressed due to not having a son. While wandering about, he came to the ashram of Bhargava, who awarded him the benediction of a son, whose name was Sagara. who was cared for by Bhargava himself, who taught him all kinds of military art as well as Vedic knowledge. When Narada Muni requested Lord Shiva to completely narrate the history of King Sagara, Lord Shiva began. King Sagara married two wives, and he performed great austerities to burn his sins. Being pleased with him, sage Aurava gave him a boon, saying that he would be received 6,000 sons at once, and only one would become austere. He will carry on the dynasty. In due course of time, one pumpkin-like thing took birth in which there were children, and they grew very quickly. By drinking the milk of cows and their own mother, they started growing very strong. One boy named Panchajana became the king. His son was Anshuman, who was very strong, and he had a son named Dilip, who became Bhagiratha, who brought the Ganges to this earthly planet by his great austerities. After great austerity, the Supreme Lord released the Ganges to him, which came down to this world, where Lord Shiva caught hold of her due to great austerities again. Lord Shiva released her. Thus the Ganges came down to Haridwar, which became a great place of pilgrimage, which is even rare to the demigods. Anybody who takes bath in Haridwar and sees Krishna and circumambulates him, he never achieves any material miseries, and many kinds of sins, including the killing of a Brahmana, become destroyed. Once I, Lord Shiva, went to see Lord Srihari in Haridwar, where by the influence of this great place I achieved the form of Vishnu. If anybody goes to that place to see Lord Hari, whether he is a man or a woman, they achieve the four-formed form and attain the abode of Vishnu. This is just by seeing Lord Hari there. Whether one is desirous of material things or desirous of liberation, he must go to Haridwar, where the Ganges flows. By taking bath in the Ganges and drinking its holy water, a person undoubtedly achieves liberation. Just by seeing, just by praying to, just by touching, just by bathing in it, Yamuna, one immediately achieves liberation. As long as one does not see or take bath in the bluish water of the Yamuna, who is the daughter of the sun god, he carries on wandering in different species of life in this world and remains diseased and dies. Lord Shiva continued, it is rarely available even to the demigods to take bath in Prayag, where the Ganges, Yamuna and Saraswati combine. This place of pilgrimage has never existed before and will not be constituted in the future, as long as all of the planets like the sun and moon remain in the sky. Prayaga is the best place of pilgrimage. One who takes bath early in the morning in Prayag becomes free from all great sins and achieves the topmost destination. After taking bath, one should give a little charity to the poor. One who goes to Prayag and takes bath and sees the banyan tree there becomes free from the killing of a Brahmana. This banyan tree is named as an imperishable banyan tree, which has existed for millions because Lord Sri Vishnu has slept on its leaf at the time of annihilation. One who worships Lord Sri Vishnu becomes very happy. All the saintly persons and demigods live there. Therefore, anybody, whether he has killed cows, or is a low-born person, or he is a criminal, or a dirty-minded person, the killer of a child, the killer of a Brahmana, anyone who bathes there, achieves the four-armed form and lives in Vaikuntha Dham. Anybody who takes bath in Prayag in the month of Magha, no one can account his merits. Lord Narayana awards him liberation. Just as among the planets, the sun is considered to be the supermost, and among the stars, the moon is considered to be the sweetest. In that very way, the month of Magha, December to January, is considered to be the very best in Prayag. Whether it is a leaf or a manjari or seeds or roots or branches or bark, anything which emanates from tulasi is purifying. Even the clay or mud of it. Anybody whose body is burnt with tulasi wood, after putting a paste of tulasi wood on his body, then he will not return again to this world. Even if one piece of tulasi was there while cremating one's dead body, he becomes free from millions of sins. If the dead body was washed with Ganges water, then he achieves unlimited merits. One who burns frankincense on the fire of tulsi wood, he achieves the result of performing an Agnistoma. One who cooks food to offer to the Supreme Lord with a tulsi fire, he achieves the merit of performing 100 sacrifices and donating 100 cows. When he offers that food to the Lord, that food becomes equal in quantity to Mount Sumeru to the Supreme Lord. Anybody who offers a lamp to the Lord, lit with fire of tulsi, one lamp becomes like 1,000 lamps to the Lord. Anybody who offers a paste made of tulsi wood to the Supreme Lord, he becomes qualified to achieve the mercy of the Lord. In Kali Yuga, if any person daily puts the paste of tulsi wood on the body of the Supreme Lord with devotion, he enjoys with Lord Sri Hari. If anybody has clay from the root of tulsi on his body and worship Lord Sri Vishnu, he achieves the merit of donating 100 cows and the merit of serving the Lord 100 times on that day. Anybody who worships the Supreme Lord with the soft manjaris from tulsi and with flowers, his worship is extended as long as the sun and moon show their light on this planet. In anybody's house, whether there is a garden of tulsi, by touching it or looking at it, one becomes free from the killing of a Brahmana and all of his sins become nullified. Lord Shiva continued, O Narada, anywhere tulsi is found, the Lord of the universe, Lord Sri Hari, resides there happily. There is no poverty in his house and there is no misery caused by separation from his relatives. There is no misery, there is no fear, and there is no disease in that house. Tulasi is always meritorious, especially in the places of pilgrimage. If anybody takes bath in Benares, whatever merit he gets, 100 times more merit can be achieved in Kurukshetra. In Prayaga or Naimisharanya, he achieves 100 times more merit than in Kurukshetra. And 10 million times more merit than all of this is achieved by a person who worships Salagram Sila. All kinds of sins are washed if somebody is worshipping Salagram Sila. Neither by studying Vedic literatures, following their rules, performing sacrifice, traveling to millions of places of pilgrimage, fasting on many occasions, or worshipping the demigods, can one cannot achieve liberation unless he observes Trispurusha Ekadasi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead created his own day for everyone's liberation. Specifically in Kali Yuga, one must observe this Trispurusha Ekadasi because practically everyone is engaged in sense gratification, trying to satisfy their senses, and they are bereft of following any rules and regulations or meditation on the Supreme Lord. Practically all are lusty and interested in looking for sense objects. But even to them, the Trispurusha is able to award liberation. Previously, the Supreme Lord, who is in the milk ocean, spoke to me, Lord Shiva. When I prayed obeisances to the Lord, he spoke to me saying that anybody who observes Trispurusha Ekadasi, Dwadashi, and Trayadashi combined, even if they are engaged in sense gratification, they will be liberated, having become free from all sinful activities. Specifically, if this Trispurusha Ekadasi falls in the month of Kartik, it removes unlimited sins. Even if a person is a murderer or had even killed a Brahmana, he immediately becomes freed from such sins. This Trispurusha fasting removes all faults and unlimited sins from a person in Kali Yuga. Even if a person is interested in Trimarga, religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, Dharma, Artha, Kama, they immediately become free from such by the mercy of Trispurusha. By observing such a fast, one becomes unlimitedly happy. Physical and spiritual strength increases, and he cannot be disturbed or destroyed by any amount of weapons. Neither by taking bath in Prayag, nor in Varanasi, nor by taking bath in Gomati river, nor by bathing in the Krishna river can one achieve liberation. O best of the Brahmanas, Narada, without observing Trispurusha Ekadasi or bathing in the above mentioned rivers, he achieves liberation But just by observing this Trispusha Ekadasi within the house, one can have all of his desires fulfilled and ultimately achieve liberation. This liberation is very rarely achieved, even to a renounced person. But a person who performs Trispusha Ekadasi properly can immediately achieve liberation. Then Narada Muni asks how one can observe Trispusha fasting, by which one can be liberated presently. If the Ekadashi is mixed with the Dashami, it is said to be increasing the strength of demons. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead encourages all of the devotees not to observe this particular Ekadashi, or even Trispusha Ekadasi if it is combined with Dashami day, because it takes away one's duration of life and physical strength. Just as a woman who is passing through menstruation can remove a person's knowledge, strength, and decrease the duration of life, in that very way, Ekadashi, which is mixed with Dashami, can remove all of this. If anybody observes Trispusha Ekadasi, all of his millions of sins are removed. Trispusha signifies Ekadasi in the morning, Dwadasi in the day, Dwadasi in the daytime, and in the last portion of night is Trayodashi. If this day is free from Dashami, that removes all kinds of offenses and will award ultimate liberation. Anybody who has observed Trispusha Ekadasi, which is mixed with Dashami, he has knowingly drunk very strong poison. Therefore, one should not observe Ekadasi, which is mixed with Dashami day. This is directly spoken by the Supreme Lord. Anyone, if he observes Trispusha or Ekadasi mixed with Dashami, then whatever merits he has acquired for millions of births come to an end. And then instead of going to heaven, he goes to the ferocious hell. Therefore, one should carefully analyze in the fasting days. If one's whole life's merit can be turned into nil just by observing an unanalyzed Ekadasi, observing the Ekadashi on the wrong day, then why does he not take care to observe the day of Supreme Lord properly? After worshipping the spiritual master, one should remain awake overnight on the correct fasting day, singing, dancing, and chanting japa nicely, and great worship the Supreme Lord. At the last portion of the night, one should give water to the Supreme Lord, take bath properly according to the rules and regulations. One feed it twice more. Whatever merit one achieves by going to the millions of places of pilgrimage and performing millions of sacrifices, the same merit can be attained by performing one Trispusha Ekadasi properly. Even Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, and what to speak of Brahmanas can observe this Krishna fasting properly, and all of them can achieve liberation without a doubt. As the 12-letter mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, is described as being the king of all mantras, in that very way, among all fasting days, Trispusha Ekadasi is said to be the king or leading fast day, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead created this previously. Even if a person is going to fall into hell, just by the observance of Trispusha or the day of Lord Hari, Ekadashi, one's destination can be changed. O best of the Brahmanas, anybody who wants to be liberated and be free from all amounts of sins should follow Lord Krishna's instructions. That under proper guidance, he should observe Ekadasi. Anybody in Kali Yuga who after knowing Trispusha does not observe it, his existence in this world is useless, and at last after death he becomes a hobgoblin and has great difficulty in getting out of this material existence. Anybody who chants the 1,000 names of Lord Sri Vishnu, whether he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, Sudra, or woman, he achieves liberation. While existing in this world, he becomes equipped with all kinds of facilities, which includes wealth. Even if one chants one verse or only a half verse of these 1,000 names of Vishnu, just by chanting with faith, he can cross over the material existence. Sarpaya sarpabhadram te gacha sarpa mahavishaha janame jayesya yagnayite astika vachanam smara astikasya vachasatva yas sarpo na nivartate satadha bhidyate murdhani Sinsa Vriksha Phalam Yadha. Adi Purana. If anyone is frightened of snakes or cobras, then he should chant the following mantras. O great snake full of poison, please go away from here, remembering the words of Astika Muni, who performed the sacrifice of Janamejaya, the son of Parishit Maharaj. If any snake does not go away by hearing the name of Astika Muni, then his head is turned into 100 pieces, just as when a tree's fruit falls to the ground, it breaks into pieces. Param Sahasra Namakshanti Patanti Manishinaha Sarva Papa Vinirmuktas Te Yanti Harimandiram. Padma Purana, Uttarakhanda, 70-12. Anybody who chants these 1,000 names becomes free from all kinds of sins and goes to live near Lord Sri Hari. These purified 1,000 names of Vishnu are very dear to his devotees. And anybody who chants them with devotion, specifically in the morning, they achieve a good duration of life and the wealth in their house increases. Anybody who remains awake at night and chants these 1,000 names achieves liberation. If anybody chants these 1,000 names and for each name offers a tulsi leaf at Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, he achieves the result of performing 1,000,000 sacrifices. Either while walking, while sitting, or anywhere, one can chant these names and he achieves the same results from Lord Sri Keshava. According to Padma Purana, Uttarakhanda, in the section on the glories of Kartik, it is stated that Lord Sri Keshava becomes very pleased by performing meritorious functions. If one goes to take bath in all of the places of pilgrimage of this universe, gives all kinds of charities as is possible, gives unlimited cows in charity, performs all kinds of sacrifices with money, or lives in the Pushkara Kshetra or Kurukshetra, or even lives on the Himalaya, which is covered with snow, or lives in Madhura Kshetra, or lives in Varanasi Kshetra, or lives in Sukara Kshetra, performs all kinds of austerities. Such a person is not as pleasing to the Lord as a person who observes the Kartik, October-November month fast. When Lord Shiva was asked by his son Kartikeya about the 4 yugas, Lord Shiva replied, Satya Yuga is dominated with Brahmana qualities. Treta Yuga is dominated with Kshatriya qualities. Dwapara Yuga is dominated by Vaishya qualities. And Kali Yuga is dominated by Sudras. Those people who are faithless, who are dirty in their hearts, who are sinful, who are atheistic, whose minds are not steady, who are controversial. These 5 people cannot get the results of observing the places of pilgrimage. In Kartik, a person should always get up early in the morning and take his bath, and then he will become free from all sins. O 6-faced Kartikeya. There are 4 kinds of baths. One by air, one by water, one by mantra, and another one is early morning. Taking bath with air is the bath when the dust is blown by the cow's footprints. And taking bath in water is taking bath in the oceans, lakes, etc. Mantra bath, Brahma bath, is taking bath by chanting mantras for purification. And a transcendental bath is to take a bath by staying under the sun. Of all kinds of baths, taking bath with water is said to be the best and is meant for Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, etc. Chanting mantras, but for women, Shudras, children, for young women, for old men, and for eunuchs, there is a system for taking bath quietly, without chanting mantras. Everyone's sins are removed by taking bath early in the morning. The month of Kartika is said to be the month of Vaishnava, and the best of all. And 330 million demigods, especially in Kali Yuga, living in Vrindavana. O greatly fortunate one, if one comes to the transcendental land, Vrindavan, and takes bath early in the morning in the Yamuna, he becomes completely purified. If somebody has taken a vow of performing Kartika fast, he should not eat eatables from others. If somebody gives up eating in others' houses, then he gets the results of performing a Chandrayana fast. One should not use oils and ointments in the month of Kartik. One should not take honey. One should not eat out of bell metal plates or pots. One should not eat low class grains. If somebody eats meat in the month of Kartik, he becomes a demon in his next life. If somebody does not follow the rules of Kartik, then he takes birth as a worm in stool for 6,000 years. If somebody, after getting liberation from those two above forms, one takes birth in his next life as a stool-eating pig in a village. Therefore, one should be careful in eating during the month of Kartik. If somebody properly follows the rules of Kartik, he achieves liberation and achieves an equal form of Vishnu. Because there is no equal month as great as Kartik. This is very lovely to Keshava. As it is said, there are no scriptures equal to the Vedas. There is no equally purifying place as the Ganges. There is no propensity of man equal to speaking the truth. There is no better yuga than such a yuga. There is no more pleasing sense within the body than the tongue. There is no greater happiness in this world than giving charity. There is no better friend of the soul than following the religious rules and regulations of scriptures. There is no better eyes to know the future than astrological calculation. If a person does not fast during the month of Kartik, which is very dear to Lord Damodara, he becomes fallen in his actions of human being and falls into the lower species. Because the Kartika month is the best of all, it is very dear to Vaishnavas always. Anybody who burns a lamp or helps others to burn a lamp in the month of Kartik achieves the same results as performing a Rajasuya sacrifice and a horse sacrifice. One who does not take bath in a holy river or listen to the narration of Lord Vishnu from a Vaishnava or go to see him, all of his merits for millions of years are removed. In the month of Magha, December, January, in Prayaga, or in the month of Kartik, October, November, in Pushkara, one who follows rules becomes free from all sins. Those people who are born in Kali Yuga are glorified because in this age, one can be liberated just by chanting the holy name of the Lord. What more can be said? O son, Lord Shiva says, by chanting the holy names of the Lord and taking his remnants, one can become free from unlimited sins. Anybody who does not worship Lord Sri Krishna in the month of Kartik properly, Lakshmi does not come properly in his house for 1,000,000 births. He is said to be a rascal, characterless, arrogant, fallen. In Kali Yuga, who does not worship Lord Sri Hari with devotional service, with lotus flowers in the month of Kartika. If somebody offers the Supreme Lord lotus flowers in the month of Kartik, he becomes free from all sins. Anybody who worships Lord Sri Krishna with tulsi leaves in the month of Kartik for every leaf he offers, O best of the sages, Narada Muni, he achieves the merit of offering the Lord a pearl. Anybody who offers a tulsi leaf touched with sandalwood paste, he becomes free from whatever sins he has acquired for thousands of births. If somebody wears a garland which has been offered to Lord Krishna on his neck, then Kali Yuga cannot touch him and he becomes free from all diseases. If somebody sprinkles water which was offered in a conch shell to Lord Srihari and wears a garland offered to the Supreme Lord Hari on his neck, or drinks the water which has washed his lotus feet, puts sandalwood paste which had been offered to him on his forehead, or smells the fragrance of incense which has offered to him, one becomes free from the sin of killing a Brahmana. After observing the fast of Prabodhini Ekadasi, see the rules and regulations of observance in the Ekadashi book by the author. In the month of Kartik, one should fast for the last 5 days of Kartik, which are called Bhishma Panchaka. Lord Shiva said that Supreme Lord himself had given these 5 days to Bhishma Deva for fasting. And since it was given by Vasudeva to Bhishma, it is called the 5 days of Bhishma. These last 5 days of the last part of Kartik were performed previously by Vasishtha, Bhrigu, Garga, etc. in Satyayuga. Ambarish Maharaj performed this fast and gave up all of his royal happiness in Treta Yuga. Celibate Brahmanas perform this fast with chanting japa and performance of sacrifice according to the scriptural rules and regulations. Kshatriyas and Vaishyas who were following truthfulness and cleanliness, etc. These 5 days fast is difficult for those people who are hypocrites and not serious. If someone observes this fast, he has observed all kinds of fasts, because it is greatly meritorious and frees one from great sins. Therefore, everyone should make a great endeavor to fast on these last 5 days of Bhishmadeva. After taking a proper bath in the month of Kartik early in the morning, either in a river or a waterfall, according to the facility available, one should begin this 5-day fast. This fast should begin from the Ekadasi day and should end on Purnima. One should take bath quietly, without talking, dress in clean clothes, and remember Bhishmadeva. On the first of these 5 days, the fasting person should worship the lotus feet of Lord Hari with lotus flowers. On the second day, he should worship the Lord with the bilva tree leaves. On the third day, he should worship the Lord with malati flowers with devotion. On the fourth day, he should worship the Lord with sweet rice. On the fifth day, he should offer the Lord yogurt. On the fifth day, he should take a proper bath and worship the Lord. One should give up eating meat and dal and sex life, anything which is sinful, and should take vegetables or fruits and worship Lord Krishna. If he needs to eat, he should do so only in the evening. A woman can also do such a thing by the suggestion of a twice born, and if a widow follows this, she can also attain liberation and happiness. All of one's material desires can be fulfilled, and all of the senses can be regulated by following this 5-day fast. One should follow this Kartik fast in a most auspicious place of pilgrimage. If one follows this Kartik fast, one can attain the results of attainable from fasting on auspicious fasting days for a whole year. One should give a nice charity to a twice-born person. For anybody who fasts for these 5 days, including the Ekadasi day, the path to hell is completely closed. But he has to make sure that he is not eating any grains on these 5 days in order to achieve auspicious results from Lord Sri Vishnu. Any merits which are very rarely achieved are achieved by those people who fast on these 5 days. Sutta Goswami says, I have narrated to you about these 5 days of fasting according to scriptures. These fasts are even very secretive to the demigods, and this rewards liberation. If one listens to what I, Sutta Goswami, have said, if anybody fasts on these 5 days, even if he had sex with a woman who he should not have, had sex with sister, daughter, sister-in-law, mother, niece, etc., he becomes free from that sin. He even becomes free from the sin of selling his daughter. If somebody attentively listens to this narration, he also achieves liberation. I tell you the truth repeatedly that one should keep this 5 days fast secretively and continue performing it unceasingly. Lord Shiva says to Skanda Kartikeya that such a person surely achieves liberation. Any person who sees Salagram Shila becomes purified of the killing of a Brahmana. If any person has Shalagram Shila in his house, all the places of pilgrimage come to that house. Therefore, one should keep Salagram Shila in his house for auspiciousness. Anybody who worships Salagram Shila with devotion, 21 generations of his family are liberated. If anybody worships Salagram Shila properly, his father and mother are glorified because such a worshipper is very difficult to achieve. It is difficult to attain a son who can properly worship Salagram Shila. If anybody sees a Vaishnava chanting or taking prasadam, he becomes free from great sins. Those devotees of Lord Sri Vishnu who wander in this world are just like a fire, which can burn the sins of sinner. The devotees of the Lord are completely free from the sins of this world. Just like the moon in the cloudy sky is not affected by the clouds moving in the sky. A Vaishnava cleanses the dry and wet sins of the desire. Knowingly done sins are called wet, and sins performed unknowingly are called dry. A person immediately becomes free from the sins accumulated due to body, mind, and words just by looking at a Vaishnava who is chanting the holy names of Lord Sri Hari, Vishnu. If a person has committed violence, either by knowledge or without knowledge, that comes to an end just by seeing a Vaishnava. A sinless person, just by seeing a Vaishnava, goes to the supreme abode. A sinful person becomes completely purified just by looking at a saintly person. Lord Shiva said to Parvati that I tell you the truth. Just by looking at a Vaishnava, one achieves liberation. Anybody who is stuck in the thick, soft mud of sense gratification, O Parvati, becomes liberated just by the association of a Vaishnava, without a doubt. Therefore, one should meditate and remember Vaishnavas, the servants of Lord Vishnu, Lord Sri Vishnu, because they are equally powerful as Lord Sri Vishnu, and they should be worshipped as much as Sri Vishnu, who is very youthful, bluish black in color, who has beautiful lotus eyes, who holds a conch shell, disc club, and lotus flower, and wears yellowish garments, having a kaustubha gem on his chest, and a garland of forest flowers. Lord Srihari, who is decorated with wonderful earrings, who has a very strong effulgence around his head, who has reddish cheeks, who has a nice crown on his head. He has ankle belts and a nice belt and is always smiling. One who meditates on this form, O Parvati, I, Lord Shiva, say that these persons really become Vaishnavas, having a form of Vishnu, and goes back to Godhead in due course of time. Therefore, one should look at a Vaishnava always. Whether he is chanting with devotion or eating, he certainly becomes a Vaishnava and becomes eligible to go back to Godhead. One who drinks the water which has washed the two lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu becomes free from all sins. Even if it is only one drop, it includes all of the water of all the places of pilgrimage. Even if one touches it, he becomes free from all sins. It removes untimely death and gives one the merit of bathing in the Ganges. If a sinful person drinks this, he becomes free from all sins, which he has in his body without a doubt. If it has a piece of tulasi and one drinks it and touches it to his head, he goes to the abode of Lord Srihari. Sri Saunaka asked Suta Goswami about who had previously drunk this Charanamrita, the water which washed the two lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, and what happened to him. Previously in Treta Yuga, there was a sinful Brahmana named Sudarshana. He would eat on the day of Lord Hari, Ekadashi, and he would criticize all of the scriptures daily, as well as all the people who would fast on the Ekadashi day. He would only think of how to fill his belly. One day in the morning, he died. The Yamadutas came to narrate what kinds of sins and merits this person, who had been brought by his messengers, had accumulated. He also said that this person looks like a grievously sinful person. The secretary Chitragupta replied, O Lord Yamaraj, he has not done any merits, but has only acquired sins. He even ate on the day of Lord Srihari, the Ekadashi day. He even ate on the appearance day of the husband of the goddess of fortune, Janmashtami. He is the lowest of all mankind because he ate on the birthday of Lord Sri Krishna, Janmashtami. Therefore, he should be put in the greatest hellish planets for millions of years, and at last he should take birth as a worm in the stool. Sutta Goswami then said, hearing this, the great messengers of Yamaraj took him to the greatest ferocious hell to suffer for the duration of 100 manus. In one day of Lord Brahma, there are 14 manus. So he has put there to suffer for a period of 100 manus. After that, he was liberated and he was made as a pig in a village. And daily he would eat sufficient stew because he had previously eaten on the day of Lord Srihari. After that life, he became a crow who would eat mucus. One day, that crow went to the house of a Brahmana where a pot of Charanamrita was left outside the door, and he drank some and became free from all sins. On the same day, he fell in a hunter's net and was killed, and at last he went to the abode of Lord Srihari, carried on a palanquin by two swan-like devotees of the Lord. This is the great merit derived from drinking the water which has emanated from washing the two lotus feet of Lord Sri Vishnu, which removes all sins. Whoever even listens to this narration about Charanamrita also becomes free from all sins. from Vishnu Purana, Canto 1, Chapter 3. Hare Krishna. So thank you for joining us in the part 1 of the reading of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Hari-bhakti-vilāsa. We will continue in part 2. We hope that you will be able to join us again in this reading. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.